Good morning, everyone. Erik Horne here, senior editor at Andscape.com, and I'm here for an Andscape roundup. We're talking HBCU coaching carousel. We're here with Kalan Hooks, associate editor for trending topics at ESPN, Bill Rhoden, columnist, writer at large for Andscape, and Mia Berry, senior HBCU writer for Andscape and international traveler. Mia, we will start with you. Willie Simmons, Florida State's coach, is leaving. Not Florida State, I'm sorry. Florida A&M's coach is leaving, but he's going to Florida State's conference. He's going to be the running backs coach at Duke. Why now for Willie Simmons, coming off of the most successful season that Florida A&M has had in quite some time?
I mean, he did what Deion Sanders couldn't do. He completed the journey for Florida A&M. They set out the goals. They missed out on SWAC championship. They finally hit it. Goes to the Celebration Bowl. Worst half of football I've ever seen, but somehow pulled it off. He's on the mountaintop of HBCU football at the moment. But the only thing that bothers me, you're at the top. You just won a Black College National Championship. And now it seems like you're taking a demotion. Power 5, I know it's money, but in terms of responsibility, you're going from head coach. You've proven that you could win, but I think he should have at least settled for an offensive coordinator. He's deserving of that. He's proved that time and time again in the SWAC. Never had a losing season at Florida A&M. The drama he has dealt with and pulled those boys through year after year after year. He had every excuse to be unsuccessful, yet still was successful. And this is the best a Power 5 conference could do for him. A running back coach? Granted, he's had that position before, but the best he could do after the year he's had.
Now, I don't know what else was available to him, but Bill, just piggybacking off of what Mia said, what does that say when your most successful coach in the cycle of 2023 for HBCU coaches has to go and take a position coach position at a Power 5 conference?
Yeah, it's sort of what Mia was saying. I had so many thoughts when I heard of it. I was a little surprised, frankly. And you're absolutely right. It's sort of like it and I haven't completed my reporting. I wanted to reach out to the SWAC commissioner because does it really devalue, the head coaching position? Like you're a head coach at HBCU, so a head coach at HBCU is equivalent to a running backs coach at a nondescript ACC school, a nondescript school at a nondescript conference. I mean, it's not like he went to like LSU, he was in the SWAC or something. So that was my first thought, it was a little devalued. I guess the second thing is, well, is he trying to, I remember me going from Ebony after I'd been in the whole HBCU world. Went to an HBCU, went to Morgan, worked at the Afro, then worked at Ebony. And then I went from Ebony to the Baltimore Sun. So like I went to the dark side because I said, okay, let me get in this whole white world now and kind of start my trek. So maybe in his thinking, he's now going to get into a Power 5 conference, work his way up, and, he does have a great resume, as Mia pointed out. If you look at his resume, he's been a head coach twice. So he's proven that he could be a head coach. You do a good job as a running back coach at Duke. The next thing you know, maybe you hit that, because, white folks want to know that you could do it for us. So he does it. So he goes to Duke, does a decent job there. The next thing you know, maybe he is at LSU or Stanford or Notre Dame, or somewhere. So, and then my third thing for it is that maybe he, Mia mentioned the drama. Maybe he just got tired of the drama. He said there's a lot of drama. Maybe I'm tired, and maybe they got tired. This will be Tiffany Sloan Green's first chance to hire a coach. So, maybe she's kind of relieved and he didn't want the drama. He got some more payday. So everybody goes to the beach.
Come on.
Bill,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, to piggyback off of your second point, the most recent coach I can think of is Lance Taylor. So Notre Dame had a running backs coach. He's currently the head coach at Western Michigan. So maybe when Willie was taking this position, he saw, okay, running back, college football, landscape, things move, people move, offensive coordinator. As soon as he gets that offensive coordinator, FBS head coach. He's mentioned that in interviews with HBCU Game Day that that's the ultimate goal. Maybe he sees this as a more clear and defined path towards getting there.
Yeah, and Kalan, like, to bring this back to the Deion of it all, because everything's related to Deion Sanders, obviously. Is this kind of a continuation of what Deion's kind of started in the past few years, or like, do you see this kind of happening more and more for HBCU coaches? Because this is something that we've discussed, Bill, Mia, in Andscape articles over the past few years. Is this going to be sort of a pathway for coaches to go to Power 5 schools? And Willie Simmons didn't use this to parlay it into a head coaching job, which is why we're kind of in question of what's going on. But Deion used this to parlay into the Power 5 school, the head coaching gig. Like, is this something that's going to become more frequent, do you think?
The first thing that I hear when I hear the prime effect, I instantly think about the domino effect in coaching at HBCU football. I mean, it all started once, he left Jackson State. Once he left, then Mississippi Valley State's head coach followed him to Colorado. Now that we look at the situation here with Florida A&M and Willie Simmons, I mean, like Mia mentioned, his ultimate goal, he said it to HBCU Game Day that, being a Power 5 head coach, is his ultimate goal. He's touched, FCS football. He's touched HBCU football. He's been a head coach twice. Now, his departure to Duke University, as like Bill said, like a degraded, running backs coach. That's only a path to, in how I see it, it's a path to becoming a head coach if he stays within the course. The thing about it is, with this coaching game, it's all about relationships. Because once Deion left Jackson State to go to Colorado, then that's where Mississippi Valley State's coach followed. That's where Vince had followed Deion, because they have built that relationship over the time of Deion being at Jackson, Vincent being at Valley. 2 schools in the Mississippi Delta. That's a relationship built. Once Deion got up, Deion said, I'm gonna pull up the people that came with me. Same thing with Willie Simmons. Willie had worked with Manny Diaz at Middle Tennessee. From 2007 to 2011. And which is so crazy, in the same role as a running backs coach. Once that opportunity came about, Manny reached back to his people that he was with from the beginning. Hey, I got an opening. You want to come and follow that journey. And Willie took that opportunity and ran with it. However, the only thing that I hate about it is that with HBCU coaches, when we're at the top, Willie Simmons just getting an HBCU national championship, a SWAC championship at Florida A&M. You at the top. Florida A&M is on its way to being a football magnet to the top recruits in HBC, and not just HBCU football, but FBS, FCS football. And now all of a sudden, it's just, I see this bigger opportunity. I see this Power 5 opportunity. Forget everything else I had. I'm just going to take this opportunity because it's on my path to becoming a head coach at a Power 5. I'm not knocking his journey or, anything, because I know as a man that you do have to still elevate within these coaching ranks. But say all that to say, all of that did kind of start with Deion Sanders, and it is a domino effect. The prom effect is the domino effect.
Yeah, and it continued on into this season because Deion came into the SWAC, immediate success, back-to-back SWAC titles, and now you're seeing coaches on kind of like a smaller leash now. They're looking at Eric Dooley at Southern, who was recently let go, like, well, no Bayou Classic wins. Flip, Hugh Jackson, no Bayou Classic wins, no SWAC titles between the two of those coaches. They're letting them go. I'm like, wow, those were some pretty decent coaches, but the timetable for success is a lot shorter now. They saw another man do it. They're like, okay, what can you do? And that's also one thing in the SWAC. The competitiveness, athletic directors, teams want to be in that top spot instantly.
Yeah. And then too, go ahead, Bill.
Just remember, I mean, let's, if we take the larger view, there's a lot of movement in football in general, not just in the SWAC, but, everybody, whether you're at James Madison or wherever, everybody is trying to get that next gig, no matter where you are, if you're in the SWAC, if you're in the Colonial. And I guess if I'm a really good coach somewhere, maybe I'm looking at that Florida A&M job as my next big job. Let's say more like maybe they'll get somebody from the CAA who's been a perennial position coach, and they'll say, oh, wow, yeah, the opportunity to be a head coach at FAMU. And I think that and maybe Mia, you can, because you talk to these folks all the time, maybe everybody's expectation is a little different. So, okay, we could get 2 years out of you. We get 2 or 3 years out of you to help bring our program. And then we'll do what HBCUs typically do, which is help you get to the next level, whether it's being a undergrad and then getting your master's degree at Princeton. You get a great foundation and then you go somewhere else. So, there are a lot of permutations, but I don't know if we should just say, oh man, this is just something peculiar to HBCU.
Yeah, Mia,
No, not at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mia. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying not at all. You're good, Erik.
No, it's like, and Mia, you bring up sort of the short leash that these coaches have now, and it's almost like the adverse Deion effect. You want this splash almost immediately when you can, whether it's Power 5, SWAC, Division 3, the immediate success of football programs is few and far between. You got to be able to have some kind of stability, I think, and some kind of continuity. So now we're looking at this list of coaches that are moving on in HBCU football this year. Mia, just what are we looking at here with all the volatility in coaching, whether it's at Southern, Grambling, Texas Southern, Alcorn State? Everybody's kind of moving around this season. In addition to Willie Simmons, is this unprecedented as far as HBCU football in the offseason with this many coaches moving at the same time at these universities?
Absolutely. I will say it is amplified by the retirement of Buddy Pugh. You're used to these HBCU coaches that are decades long at their schools, historians, legends of that nature. And then, you see this next crop where you could see the greatness within these coaches, but you're kind of like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be here long term. They're not going to be here like a Buddy Pugh. They're not going to be here like a Eddie Robinson. So that's kind of like, wow, will you get another generation of coaches that are ACU through and through for the next 2 decades? If you look at the MEAC, Trey Oliver is the longest tenured coach there now. He got hired December 2018. So you're looking 5 years in and you're the longest tenured coach in the conference. Everyone else in that conference, 3 seasons or less. SWAC at this point, Alabama A&M Connell Maynard is the longest tenured coach. January 2018. Once again, 5 years in, everyone else is 3, 4. I think underneath him is 4 years in. Everyone else is kind of showing that, showing that mix up. It's not just MEAC, SWAC, but it's just teams. You're not seeing these long tenured coaches that many fan bases have learned to love and adore.
What to me is interesting is that in some of these instances, you got coaches like Fred McNair who have been successful at Alcorn, yet they can't come to an agreement on the contract renewal. I don't know the inner workings of that, Mia. Maybe you could shed some more light on that to me, but this dude was successful in his 7 seasons. It's not like he was doing a poor job. Like, I mean, I don't want to disparage any of the coaches that, got fired in the last cycle or didn't get their contract renewed, but a situation like Alcorn where you do have that continuity from Fred McNair, it makes me curious as to what happened behind the scenes of what exactly was going on to where they didn't want to bring back a coach who was successful there and actually got some things going and had some continuity.
I'm purely speculating at this point because I haven't talked to either side directly, but sometimes people want to go in different directions. They'll do it quietly behind the scenes. When it comes to Coach McNair, he is SWAC royalty through and through. He has proven that he can win on all levels. Hasn't hit that Celebration Bowl just yet. Maybe they wanted to go in a different direction. Nothing wrong with that. I thought the perfect formula was when Texas Southern came into the picture. Like, we want Fred McNair, and now I'm like, is almost feels like a mockery. Like, this coach he's a great coach. He wants to be SWAC. He wants to stay in this conference. Yet this dilemma, you don't know if you want to hire him. What? If I'm Florida A&M, I know people have ideas of who they want. I think KJ Black, who is currently an assistant with the Rams, will also be a good choice. And if I'm Florida A&M, and if I'm Tiffany Dawn Sykes, I'm looking at that situation over there like, let me scoop in. Let me put that contract on the table. Let me tell him, this has already been approved. Ink is already dry. Sign this and poach away a great coach. Because Fred McNair does not deserve this. It's a level of disrespect that he has clearly proven he is above.
And maybe not to, not to cast a wide net over HBCUs, but when we talked about Willie Simmons not wanting the drama, maybe this is part of the drama, that said, you know what, we don't need this stuff, you're talking about McNair. And I think one of the things that we talked about is there anything that HBCUs can do to get the type of continuity that you talked about, Mia? And again, I think that's a dilemma across all football, all college football, with NIL and the transfer portal. Everybody is facing this same thing of what do you do with this volatility? And if you're an HBCU, I like, my alma mater had tried. You remember, in the wake of HBCU, everybody was trying to get the star, the star coach. Tennessee State got what's that? The
Eddie Merge.
Yeah, and then Grambling got Hugh Jackson, which I was never sure that was a fit. So maybe now, what Morgan did is that they got. It's early in the morning, so I'm getting all these blanks. But they got a celebrity head coach, the former Michigan. Who's Tyrone Wheatley, who did his 3 years, then left. Then they went HBCU. They got a very successful coach from Bowie, and so maybe that's the way to go. We'd mentioned, I don't ever think we're going to see the Eddie Robinson, the Earl Banks, and all that, but I think there is something about going the HBCU route, giving quality HBCU coaches, whether they're head coaches or whether they're really promising assistants, head coaching gigs, and trying to keep it all HBCU. So I just think that we're in this thing of volatility, and I think Deion was an outlier, because he was Deion. I don't think we're going to see that again. But maybe you're right. The next thing is do what Willie Simmons did. You make these what seem to be lateral moves, being a successful HBCU head coach, and then begin your climb up Jacob's ladder at a Power 5 conference, at a Power 5 school. So I think it's just very fascinating, the volatility.
Yeah, Erik, also the second half of his question, what can HBCUs do to keep these coaches? I will honestly say, take care of the coaches while they're there. I had a source tell me that, one thing that Simmons did kind of petition for was a couple extra dollars in the pocket. And when the conversation was first had, there was absolutely, couldn't be worked out at the moment. And then all of a sudden you hear other people calling. All of a sudden, it's money. It's fundraising. Why not do this in advance? Why let your head coach get tempted and let him flirt with other schools and side pieces before you give him his money? He's earned it. He was well overdue for it. I'm like, wow, now we're crowdsourcing for his money and money for his assistants. That should be an annual thing. Each program should have this. And the people are up in arms about what to do with the fundraising now. NIL, that program still needs to rebuild right now. Those assistant coaches that are still there still need that money. You want to hire an attractive coach to continue the success of that program, they're still going to need that money. Don't do it when it's too late. Don't treat, your coach, your girlfriend, your boyfriend good at the end. Treat them good the entire time. There'll be some loyalty there.
And you know what, to go to your point too, speaking from like being an HBCU alum at, Pine Bluff, a lot of the times, when coaches come in, some of what alums do, we don't believe in, hiring a new head coach because we're so used to the coach that came before them. You know, it's like when they get hired, it's like, okay, well, hopefully they could keep up the winning tradition that X, Y, and Z had before they came in, or else, next year they got to be gone. And as soon as, one mishap happens, then it's okay, we're ready to kick them to the dirt. And Florida A&M, in Florida A&M's, situation, when Willie Simmons, canceled all football activities due to a rap video shoot, people was, giving Willie Simmons hell because, at the end of the day, these people love their institution, but alumni, we can't not believe in, people that are bought on, because at the end of the day, they're still serving for our institutions. Another thing about that too, with the money situation, HBCUs are like severely underfunded. NPR said that HBCUs are owed $12 billion, Florida A&M $2 billion alone. So that's a big dilemma that, HBCU funding is playing a role in, but as far as like alumni, alumni, they pitch in every year. Homecoming, the alumni endowments are flowing in like, money grows on trees. Millions of dollars, put that towards the coaches instead of other things that don't need to be, funded upon, things that are already upgraded. There's no need to do that. These coaches, they're giving their all to kids. They're serving as that father figure for our kids that are away from home. Reward them with that.
Yeah. Those are great points. But you mentioned, I just wonder, and remember, Willie Simmons did not come out of HBCU environment, and I'd be, when he goes to a place like Duke, which is pretty well funded, I'm sure there's going to be a degree of day and nightness, even though he's a running back coach, it's just the resources that are going to be available. And I don't know, that's always been the blind spot or the sore spot or the Achilles heel when it comes to HBCU and alumni. I think what Florida A&M did, they got an alumni group to pass the hat and come up with a bunch of money to try to keep him. I just don't, you see this happening a lot of times, particularly in Power 5 schools, where you have alumni, very wealthy alumni, pitch in because that football program is very, very important to them. And I'm just not sure, when you look at a Howard or a lot of HBCUs, how absolutely important the football program is. It was nice. I think Howard got the bump. Kamala Harris was there, and nice thing. But how important is a successful football program to an HBCU school? In other words, when you've got limited resources, how many resources do you want to pour in to the football program, as opposed to, the library or anything else? So I just think that this is probably going to be a source of conversation among the HBCU universe moving forward. HBCU presidents, I'm sure, are going to be talking about this. What was probably going to become the Willie Simmons thing. How do we deal with our head coaches? Do we make them, like at a lot of Power 5, do we make the football and basketball coaches the most highly compensated employees on campus? I don't know if that flies at a lot of HBCUs and probably mid-level schools too. So, like I said, I'm really fascinated to see the fallout.
Before we go, want to say, tough luck for Hugh Jackson at Grambling State, but shout out to my man Mickey Joseph, brother of Vance Joseph, Bill.
All right. Okay.
Louisiana royalty, getting a chance at Grambling. He spent some time there as a positions coach, and he's come back, and hopefully he can get them back to where they were before. But Joseph Brothers alive and well, Bill.
That's great. Maybe he'll bring, depending on what happens in Denver, maybe he'll bring Vance over as his coordinator.
Yeah, Sean Payton's.
He already stole Dooley. He stole Dooley already.
Yeah.
So somebody's going from some powder blue to that black and gold.
The rivalry.
I'm sure that'll go over well in the rivalry.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, good luck. I would be curious, when we have this conversation 3 years from now, I'm curious what we're going to be saying about the Florida Willie Simmons move. In 3 years, will he be somewhere else? Will he be a coordinator somewhere? So I just think it's all very fascinating. I'm just fascinated by this.
I am too. So hopefully we'll be able to see. This isn't the first time he's been offered a Power 5 running back coach position. I had a couple sources tell me he was offered a SEC running back coaching position a few years back that he swiftly declined, and he remained at Florida A&M. So maybe this was the icing on the cake. Maybe this was the position and the resources and the connections that he wanted. It seems more calculated just because he had different offers in the past, but this is the one he wanted.
Yeah, this is definitely fascinating too, because Willie Simmons also didn't come from an HBCU background. He was at Clemson. He was at Clemson before he got his first coaching job. So it doesn't really surprise me to see him go to Duke in a way, just because he is not from the historically Black college background that a lot of other people came from. So I mean, I'm definitely interested to see how it pans out. I wish him success at Duke, because at the end of the day, he's still a product of an HBCU, because he's been a head coach for 2 of our institutions. And anytime that we can get a victory, such as Willie Simmons going to Duke University as a running back coach, if they win, we win at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yep. And who's to say this doesn't open the path for other HBCU coaches? Next time they want to go to the SWAC, more opportunities will come. So, Duke, maybe they wanted some Florida boys on that roster now. They in the ACC. Willie's pretty much locked up his territory down south. So maybe we'll see some speed in that running back room for years to come.
Yeah, great point. That's a great point, Mia. I know we're trying to get out of here, but that is a great point about, can you bring us some of that Florida talent? So it's not just coaching running back, it's getting running backs, So yeah, I think there's a lot going on. And then just last but not least, and I thought this was Deion, is does that open a door, of kind of, I don't want to refer to like sort of these HBCUs as sort of minor leagues, high minor leagues, where you get the head coaching experience, and then you go to a Colorado or somewhere else after having really proved that you can be a head coach. So they're, bottom line, Duke is really getting a very solid person. They're getting a very, very solid coach, bottom line. So we shall see. We'll see, Erik.
We shall. No, y'all, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we'll get some more clarity on the HBCU coaching carousel, and we will see y'all again soon.
All right, take care. Stay safe.
Some good